You're not generating $10 million doing your one thing. You haven't arrived yet. You're not good enough yet.
This episode is with Mike Michalowicz, who wrote the book on profiting first and is going to teach us step-by-step playbooks for you guys to profit and make money right now in your business.
To have a successful business, there's an intersection of three key elements you have to nail. What sales does is it can bring in more cash, but also brings in more organizational stress. You have more responsibility now. Or customers will never say to your face, you know, your business kind of sucks. But what they will do is go online and slam your reputation. So you can't trust their words, but you can trust their wallet. I got a magical Jedi mind trick question. I actually got two that will blow your mind away. First question.
We've been blown away by how fast the show is growing. Like, getting to hang out with you every single week is so cool. But most of the people who tune in every week still haven't subscribed, which is crazy. It is the simplest way, though, to help us keep scaling, bringing the best guests like Mike Michalowicz and making the big deal a big deal. So I can't thank you enough for your support. Like, we would be nowhere without you guys. And I just want to jump back into my conversation with Mike, but I also want you to do it subscribed. Oh, and share it with a friend if you like this episode. I think it's better when you profit together, you know?
Can I start with some kind of real challenges, rapid fire, that we've heard from owners?
Yeah, throw them at me.
Okay. What if you're a business owner, you're weeks away from running out of money? You're kind of panicked, you don't know what to do next. What's your first move if you call Mike?
All right, so first thing is you acknowledge you're pretty much every business owner on the planet. There's a saying that most businesses are on the brink of failure. And the statistics show that most businesses don't have enough cash flow for 4 weeks. But my analysis, and I love contrarian thinking, my analysis is most businesses are not on the brink of failure because most businesses find a way to survive that moment. Somehow, some way, most businesses, yet again, doggy paddle and get above water. So I think most businesses are on the brink of success. It's just a good strategic move. So what we do, if a business like that calls, and I also invest in businesses, we do what's called reclamation services. We go into businesses that are specifically in struggle, is we go through the client base, we deploy the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule, identify who the best customers are and say, hey, what can we do right now to serve you? Because they're already the best customers. We get revenue in that way. We usually cut the lowest 20% of customers because inevitably they are costing you money and you don't even see it. It's like, oh, I'm making revenue, this is great. The expenses are in excess of the revenue, and the emotional weight is killing you. So we get rid of the unfit customers, we amplify the best customers, then we start realigning the business around that.
I love it. So two moves. You call up your best customers and say, basically, you're asking them, but not this way. How can we sell you more things? Which is
exactly.
What else do you need, and how do we increase the LTV of every single person?
Yeah, and you tell them you love them. Like when you tell a customer, hey, you're such an important customer to me. I value you so much. I just want to see if there's any other way to serve you. Yeah. Reciprocity kicks in. They're like, we love you too. And we were thinking about getting this. Can you do it? Yeah.
I love that. Okay. What do you do for someone who has more revenue than they've ever had before, but is actually making less profit?
That, again, is every business I know. I was speaking yesterday at an event, and I asked the group, it's similar size. I said, who wants to increase their revenue? Everyone's like, that's what we need to do. That's the solution. I said, arguably, that's one of the most dangerous things to do because it's a reckless belief. We believe that sales cures everything, and that is total nonsense. Total nonsense. What sales does is it can bring in more cash, but also brings in more organizational stress. You have more responsibility now, more things you need to service. So when a business says we're cranking up revenue, I am looking to see, are they doing it through diversifying their offering, which I think is a mistake. Instead of becoming special, they're doing many things and they dilute their ability, they're not efficient. We'll look, are they serving customers with varying demands? Customers that are perhaps big names, but then they assert their strength. I had a client of mine I worked with, Walmart was their best customer, number one in revenue. We looked at them, their demands were off the charts. They said, when you deliver your product, it was like a bracelet thing, they said, it's gotta come on a Monday at 10:30 in the morning, and if you're outside like a 5-minute window, we're gonna penalize you. If the SKU, that UPS code, if it's more than a quarter inch below the top of the box, we're gonna penalize you. And Walmart does this for, efficiency, that's why they do it. But my client, they were they saw that as good revenue. It was crushing them with the penalties. Their number 2 customer was Dollar General. Is that around here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dollar General's like, hey, deliver it whenever you can because we're always playing second fiddle to Walmart. So, Cody, you'll love this. Here's what he did. He put a sign above his desk, and he had 15 employees. The sign says this: our policy is to answer the call on the first ring. If it's the Dollar General, answer the call and start taking their order. And if Walmart calls, let it go to voicemail and then call them back when you're done. The miraculous thing was the next one. It said, we always answer in the first ring. If the first call is Walmart, start taking their order. But while you're on the phone with Walmart, if Dollar General calls, immediately hang up on Walmart. Like, say, sorry, we have an emergency, disconnect and prioritize. So they're not cutting off customers or revenue, but they're prioritizing the quality revenue. It transformed his business. It was a family business. It was 25 years old. They were struggling to get 4 million. It went 4, 18, 27, sold it.
You know what's crazy too, and we'll take you guys through this process. So you'll go through a process where you basically analyze your cash flow, and we'll use a 13-week rolling cash flow, which I love. And then we'll also talk to you about your underlying clients. What's your best avatar versus your worst? Because I think a lot of times we lump our business all together. We don't know what customers cost us to get, and we certainly don't know what customers cost us to keep. And it's not because we're bad operators, it's because we're busy. And it's sort of hard. And so it takes this pause and analysis. And the truth of it is, your team is not going to do that. That is going to have to be a you thing at most levels of the business.
That is brilliant. I'll add to that, there's a real simple strategy that we've deployed. And what you do is you sort your clients out over the last year, the revenue they've generated for you. And the reason is people lie to each other constantly because it's social grace. Like when you saw me, like, hey, Mike, it's so good to see you. I'm a huge fan. I'm like, are you, Cody? Are you? But
I am.
Thank you. But could you imagine you come up to me and say, oh, your books really suck, Mike? Like, you can't do that because of social grace and not be like, well, that's offensive. And then we get into this disagreement. Or our customers will never say to your face, you know, your business kind of sucks. Poop 911's here. Oh, it's kind of like more turd 411. You know what I'm saying? like they're never gonna. That was
a good one.
That was good. That was juicy. But they would never say that to you. But what they will do is go online and slam your reputation. So you can't trust their words, but you can trust their wallets. So don't trust words, trust wallets. If they buy from you repeatedly or they're demonstrating they value you. But there's a second test. It's the intersection of them valuing you, spending money, with your appreciation and enjoyment of them. So when the car ID pops up on your phone, are you like, oh my gosh, they're amazing? Or are you like, oh gosh, I wish they didn't exist? Which one do you pick? Because if you have a customer that generates a lot of revenue, but you don't like working with them, you automatically, inherently, subconsciously perhaps, deprioritize their service. You don't call them back as quickly, you delay it, you avoid it. So we want the intersection of best customers that you love working with, circle those customers and start to clone them. And what I mean by cloning them, I find out where they congregate, where's their associations or communities, where's the people like them hanging out, and I'm going to insert myself there.
That's so good. Yeah, we obsess on client avatars, and I feel like the number one thing that most people do wrong in business is they sell demographically as opposed to really nailing their avatar. Like I've never met a 45 to 65-year-old male 40% of the time and 60% of the time a woman. I mean, these days, who knows? But historically, no. And so, you know, I really like this idea of what are the characteristics of this type of avatar? And then how do we go after them?
Yeah, and look for the congregation points. So when I'm targeting a market, I'll say, is there an association for this? This is when I'm selling B2B. Is there an association? Is there some kind of meetups or something like that? For example, maybe I'm serving pilots, retired pilots. Well, I'd say, is there a retired pilot association? Which actually I know there is. So that's an opportunity. They're already congregating. But if I look for single moms who hate their mom, that demographic exists, perhaps even in this room. But do they have a meetup club? Maybe not. If they don't have a congregation point, you have to assemble it yourself. It is the most exhausting, time-consuming effort. It rarely fails. So when someone says, I have a niche, it's, I serve single moms who don't like their moms. I mean, that's not a niche because you have to now assemble them together. But if you're serving the airline retired pilot association, I know where they're going. They may have a dedicated podcast and you insert yourself there and they see you ubiquitously. They see you everywhere.
So good. Let's zoom out for a second. What does everyone get wrong about making money in business?
Okay, So this is very opinionated. It ain't about the money. And you probably heard that before. And when you don't have the money, it's very easy to say. I mean, it's very easy to focus on the money. And then when you do have the money, it's very easy to say it ain't about the money. My perspective is both. So I became a multimillionaire when I was in my early 30s. I had an exit to Fortune 500, Robert Half International. You've sold quite a bit.
I do remember
You remember them? They had account temps, office temps.
Yeah.
I was doing computer crime investigation, and the Enron trial broke. My company, right place, right time, we got the Enron trial. Now, to give context, we were not the prosecution. That's the FBI, the CIA, we were the defense. So if you remember names like Kenneth Lay, Andrew Fastow, they were our clients. They were guilty, by the way. That was their defense. They were guilty. And we got put on the map very quickly. What I assumed was, when I sold that business, and it was a lot of money, I was like, I've arrived. But I really didn't. What I did, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, but it's important to admit it, is I thought I had to show the effect. So I bought all the stable of cars. I got a private place out in Lanai, which is an island owned by Larry Ellison now. For sabbatical, we got a place in a very affluent town in New Jersey where I live. And I'm like, look how important I am, people. And no one gives two craps. Then, total idiot, I blew all my money because I thought I knew everything. I knew very little. And with the collapse, no one really cared either. No one really cares. I found the essence of a good business is that it's an expression of our purpose. I know from the interviews I listened that you do, from the literature you put out, you're such an authentic, real human, that this platform is an expression of who you are. Listen, your mom is here. The last time my mom came, I was doing a puppet show in 3rd grade. That's a dream to have your mom here. Which also indicates the authenticity in this. I think too many entrepreneurs go for the money only to find out that was a mistake. We got to go for it because it's an expression of our heart. That's my opinion.
Oh, it's so true. And you know what else is crazy that I love that you talk about often? That statement, "It's never about the money," was so triggering to me when I didn't have any money. I'm like, that's cute, Mike. Give me $1 million, I'll figure it out.
Right.
But what I've increasingly realized is you never don't have enough money, you don't have enough knowledge.
That's right.
Because if you had more knowledge, you'd see that there are 372 ways to get the cash.
Yeah.
And the real question is just what's the best way? What's the best game you want to play? What's the right game you want to play for you? Who's the right investor? What's the right way to get capital? It's just, then it becomes what's the right fit, never just, it doesn't exist, why don't I have it?
Yeah.
If I could impart one thing to people more often, it would be that. And that you can make money doing anything, which is great. Pooper scooper. We're just also everybody should just wear their business shirts here because look how much marketing. You guys are going to have an ad on this podcast. It costs $1 billion, not for you two. Poop 911. Call my ladies.
Do you mind if I flip it on? I got a question for you.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
So when it comes about money, I heard recently, and I've experienced this, and I'm curious about you, is there's not a single person who's ever had enough money. So I was talking to personal finance experts as this interview series, and consistently I heard, wherever someone is financially today, they feel their freedom is double of their current worth. So if you're worth $100,000, when I get a $200,000, I'm good. And people too are saying 4, and people in the middle are saying 2. So I'm curious, have you arrived financially?
Oh, no.
No, right?
Never.
Bullshit.
I know, is that
But
crazy?
also true.
Yeah.
And me neither.
Well, even Mom, we were having this walk this morning. Remember what you asked me? She was like, aren't you proud? The headquarters, and look how everything's grown. And because most of my businesses have been remote for many, many years. I ran businesses where we had people all over the world. She's like, you have look, I can touch it, or do you take a second? And I literally was like, it feels like, what did I say? We haven't scratched the surface yet. So I totally think about it zero at any level but it's also because I love the game. Not necessarily I want the bank account to be bigger. I still have, don't get me wrong. I mean, what do you ask me? Every time she sees me, she asks me, but who takes care of the money at your company? Every time, don't you? She's always like, but who's the CFO? Who's in charge of making sure you don't run out of money? Because if you didn't grow up with any money, that's deep inside all of us. We're just but who's in charge and are they stealing from us? Yeah. And the answer is yeah, people are going to steal from you at some point. That is true. And it'll also be fine, and you'll keep going. But yeah, I agree. I don't think there's ever enough. But if you can flip it to stop talking about the dollar amount and start talking about like it's never enough because I just want to see what am I capable of. Like I want to die having squeezed every last drop out of me. That's when I think it starts to get fun.
100.
You've seen the rarest of things, which is you lost it all.
Yeah.
And I think that is often, how many people here are almost more scared of people knowing that you lost it all and like seeing the flame out than actually not having the cash? Who else? I see a lot of nodding.
Yeah.
Like, I think that is what scares us. But you're a perfect example of like, I was there. Nobody fucking cared and I'm fine.
No one cares.
That's wild.
Like, no one cares. And it is true that saying that the people who do care don't matter and the people that matter, do care.
Wait, can I ask you a question? Did you have a very dark moment then when you were like, I lost everything. This is how I defined myself. Who am I?
Yeah. You want to go there?
Okay. Just in front of our 20 new best friends.
Yeah, exactly. So I wrote about it in my book. So this is the moment. So become a millionaire. I buy all these things. I got to start off with the arrogance I had. I bought a Land Rover, a BMW, and a Dodge Viper, all within 4 hours on the same day. Thanks for laughing. Right? And I thought, and the Viper was because in college, I saw the Viper. I said, when I arrive one day, I'll get it. I got this place out in Hawaii for a sabbatical. I joined a club. I also started investing. I invest in a whole different way now. I used to do basically private equity, putting in, but small tranches, angel, 50, 100, 200, in all these different businesses. And this arrogant dick was like, oh, it doesn't matter if you're here, Cody. Mike's here. Here's the money. We have me. I have the Midas touch. I believed my own story. And there is, I looked up in the Webster Dictionary, there is a word for someone who has arrogance and ignorance. The word is dick. It's true. It is true. I was a total dick. And the Dodge Viper is like the winning trophy for dicks. Like, I, within 2 years, evaporated all that wealth. I lost every penny, Cody. And I'll never forget, my accountant calls me. It was February 14th, 2008, Valentine's Day. And he says, Mike, you have to declare bankruptcy. I didn't have enough money to pay my tax bill that year, and it wasn't even a tax bill. I came home. I have 3 children. My wife and my kids had prepared a meal, and I was sobbing when I came home. And that's when I told them what happened. I lost everything. Now, I'd been lying to my family by omission. My wife was like, how's business? And I saw my bank account. I don't know if you've been there. You see it dwindling. So logically, I saw it, but emotionally, I wasn't ready to accept it. I'm like, that one client's coming. So my wife would say, how's things going? I'm like, it's fine. It's good. But I had to face it. We lost our house 30 days later. We liquidated all our assets. The cars were gone. Viper was gone, thank God. Everything was gone. But this was the moment, and I'll probably start crying, so I got to go quick. My daughter asked me, she goes, Daddy, she was 9, can I still go to horseback riding lessons? Now, to give you context, it was $20 for a group of like 10 kids, and they ride around for a half hour. And I said, I'm so sorry, we don't have anything. And as I said that, she got up and she ran as fast as she could into her room, and I hear the door slam, and I'm sobbing. I'm like, oh my God, you and I, and we define ourselves as providers. We are here to provide for ourselves, our family, our community, our globe. And like my one effing job, I can't do it. My daughter is so scared, she ran away from me. And as I'm saying that, I hear something going. The door comes swinging open, and she comes running down with those gangly legs, and she has a piggy bank in her hand. And she goes, Daddy. She goes, I'll pay our bills. I was so embarrassed of that day. And you know, there's a saying about rock bottom. As difficult as it is, at least there's only one way to go, which is up, right? It's a beautiful saying. It's total bullshit. It's total bullshit. You hit the bottom, you get dragged along the floor of self-disdain and hatred. I'm like, I'm a scumbag. And I went through 2 years of depression, self-diagnosed. I never went to a therapist. Do now. You should. Drank a lot. I don't now. But in reflection, it's the greatest moment of my life because I said, I'm going to fix this. Your traumas, whatever they may be, my traumas, our traumas often are the biggest opportunity. I'm on a path. I'm committed to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty because I know how visceral it is. I know how freaking bad it is. I am committed to make every entrepreneur I come in contact with as profitable as possible. Because honestly, I need to learn that for myself. What we teach is what we need to learn. And so I'm just putting it out there. I'm not great with money. I'm better. But God, I'm never going to stop teaching it.
I love that. How many of you guys resonate with that? You've had, yeah. I mean, my dad calls it the head in the hands in the dark with no idea what to do moment. And I've had one too.
What was yours?
Mine was the same thing. A company was almost out of cash that we had, and I didn't tell anybody. And mine was like really, it was almost so fast. It was like a cancer diagnosis where you die the next 30 days. Like I didn't know. I didn't really have the slow burn. We had made a terrible mistake in a business. And it's often, I think mistakes are usually who's, not how's. Yeah. And so I had trusted somebody, and that was my fault. And I had let them have too much control over one of these businesses. And the way that they had reported it had not really anticipated some expenses we were going to have, and also that we would have seasonality in the business. And I was so embarrassed about it that I called him in the middle of the night, and he said two things to me. He said, one, when we step on a nail at a construction site, we don't ask how we got there, what happened, what's going on, do I take a bubble bath so I feel better? We pull out the fucking nail. And so he goes, you're going to do the hard thing. You're going to do the hard thing right now, which is you're going to look at your business, and that's why I obsess for all of you guys on making sure that when you are in that poverty center, how do we get out of it immediately? How do we fuck the emotions, fuck the feelings? We pull out the nail. You don't wonder how the nail got there. You fix the safety issues later. You wear better boots the next time. And so he did a really good job of snapping me out of it, of saying, instead of staying here worrying about it, which is why I'm always saying to you guys, money really likes speed. He basically was like, why would you worry about this one more second? You're not going to sleep anyway tonight. Stay up. Stay up. Let's look at the books. Let's fix this. And what I've found in investing in hundreds of businesses now, it's almost always fixable, to your point. Almost always. But the reason it won't be is because you don't move fast enough, you don't have people who have been there before around you, and you don't focus on profit. You focus on what is going to look good, what is going to be okay. Yeah. Like sometimes you got to do the really awful thing, which is rip off the Band-Aid. But I'm so glad you talked about that, because one of our missions here is, we've looked a lot at the data surrounding small business. And most small businesses fail. That is true. Most of them do. Nobody talks about it. Most of them do. And a lot of the reason why, I think, is due to not having systems of control for situations in which emotion gets high. You have a ton of systems and stories and ways that you kind of are honest about yourself. You keep yourself in your, I'll call it your bumper lanes, because you know that you have self-awareness to be like, I'm not the best with money. The people that get in trouble are the ones that think they're the best with it, right? And so I want to talk about a couple of things. You can kind of pick which one. I want to talk about either the pumpkin plan, or I want to talk about clockwork, or I want to talk about beacon. Do any of those speak to you in this?
Yeah, they do. So I'd say pumpkin plan to start. What I did, just to give context, that's one of the books I wrote. And it's the runner-up to Profit First in popularity. What I did was I hired a business coach before business coaches really existed. This is back in the 90s. And he came into my business and said, day one, we're going to go to a pumpkin field. I'm like, what? He's like, you got to understand biology, because there's this thing called biomimicry. And when you study what Mother Nature's figured out, she's pretty freaking smart and she spent a lot of time figuring things out. You can copy those strategies, and usually they have a better success rate than something that's artificially engineered. So I went to a pumpkin farm and studied colossal pumpkin farming. And sure enough, it works for business too. So that's the context.
Talk about why and what you got from it.
Yeah, so there was a few things. The first one was, it's called seed selection. And basically, to have a successful business, there's an intersection, it's like a Venn diagram of three key elements you have to nail, and the likelihood of growing is much greater than otherwise. Most entrepreneurs simply say, I'm doing this because this is my historical vocation, I have some experience, I'm going to do it. Or, I heard you can make a lot of money doing it. And I don't know if either of those are actually necessarily good. The first thing that we ask, and I ask myself, is do I have something that's truly distinct in the industry? Can you redefine the industry? I'll give you a personal example. Who's heard of the Savannah Bananas here? Okay, they're exploding, right? So Jesse Cole is a friend from before, right when the Savannah Bananas were starting, and they used Profit First. I went down and coached the organization. What he did was say, what is the industry doing currently and sucks about it? He said, I don't know if any of you know this, but baseball is boring. It's boring. So he's like, that sucks. And he went through all these different things. So the first thing he said is, what are the things that people don't like? I'm going to unsuck it. That sounded gross. That sounded very, I don't know why it sounded so gross, but it did. So he and his wife, Emily, started to redefine baseball to make it not boring and to make it entertaining. The second thing is they put intentional constraints in place. So they use profit first, which inherently means there's less money to spend. And one of my favorite things is he said, we don't have enough money for like a cheer squad or anything to entertain people. So he's like, what do you do when you have no money? He's like, you ask your fans. So he said, if you're 80 years or older and you're a woman, you're on our cheer squad, and teeth are optional. And it's true for half the squad. I met the squad, and they're the Nana Bananas. And people lose their effing minds. Like, we lose our minds watching this. So what makes you truly unique, better than the competition, is not noticeable. You answer the phone in 2 rings, I answer in 1. I'm technically better. The customer won't notice. You run a standard baseball game, I have a grandma banana to answer around, I win. You gotta be different. Secondly is you have to have client demand for it. So I could do something very different. I could be your first guest that comes dressed like Bozo the Clown, waka waka. I come in with my big floppy shoes. Everyone will notice it's different, but is there demand for a weirdo that does that? Maybe not, and now I've compromised myself. So who's the customer that wants that? And it's not your standard baseball fan. They're not there for the winning game, they're there for the winning experience. So he's redefined the customer. And the last part is, to your earlier point, is systemization. And most people don't understand what systemization is. Systemization is where you can attract prospects, convert them to customers, collect revenue, have them raving about the experience, all while you're sleeping. Without any of your active input, with the entrepreneur not doing any of that, now you have a systemized business. And so what I learned from the pumpkin plan is that's the seed. And just like growing a colossal pumpkin, you need a seed that matches the environment, the soil content, the climate. You need a seed that matches up with those 3 elements.
Some of the greatest businesses start as nothing more than a notebook full of scribbles. But ideas aren't enough. They need execution. With GoDaddy Aero, execution is fast. A few prompts and you get a website, logo, email, and even social content. Minutes, not months. You go from scribbles on a paper to a polished online business you can actually grow. So stop waiting, stop overthinking, launch your business today with GoDaddy Aero. Head to godaddy.com/Cody Sanchez and see what's possible there. By the way, this live episode, if you guys liked it, if you want more, well, I have a live event. I only do one a year. It's huge. How big? Really big. In Austin, Texas, just for people who want to make more money, buy businesses, build businesses. It's called Main Street over Wall Street. So if you liked this episode, you're probably going to want to be there. There's only a couple hundred spots left. So click below. I want to shake your hand in person in Austin, Texas, or go to msows.com. MSOWS. We'll see you there.
So let's say that somebody doesn't have their, I believe you call it their prize pumpkin. Let's say that they don't have this differentiator, this unique component. What do you tell them to do? How do people start thinking about that?
Dude, I don't know why I called you dude. Is that cool?
I love dude.
Right,
yes.
Dude. I called my friends dude, so you just, I didn't even
That's
know.
Great. Me
Subconsciously, you just qualified. So dude, this is what you gotta do. I got a magical Jedi mind trick question. I guess I got 2 that will blow your mind away. And it's not what you think. That's how Jedis roll. First question, ask your best customers, those ones we identified, what am I doing right? Now here's why this is a Jedi mind trick. They will not tell you what you're doing right. So I used to work with hedge funds. They were one of my first company. We did technical services for hedge funds. They had Bloomberg's and ILX and all these different systems. I went to my best customer, Appaloosa Management. I said, what am I doing right? And they said, you respond very quickly. Now, this is in the 90s. They said the typical computer guy was taking like a full day to get on site when our system went down. They got backup systems, but you get on site within 4 hours. Now, here's the Jedi part. When your customer tells you you're doing right, they don't tell you what you're doing right. They tell you how they're judging you, what they're observing. You and I you do thousands of things for your customer. Your customer does not see the 1,000 things. They see 1 or 2 things. So when you ask them what I'm doing right, they tell you the thing they see. So when my client said, you respond quickly, I said, holy crap, I'm not responding fast enough. Because that's what he's measuring. So I figured out a way, it was real simple, dispatch one of my technicians or myself to be within a half-hour radius of Appaloosa Management, and anytime he had a problem, I would leave my other clients, I have an emergency with my number 1 client, Dollar General, get there, and I was getting on site within a half hour. Within a month, he's like, I don't know what you're doing, dude, but it has blown my mind. Like, the service level has skyrocketed. He's like, we're telling everyone about it. So trick 1 is what I'm doing right is actually what you need to do better. Trick 2 is what am I doing wrong? But here's a Jedi mind trick. Don't ask what you're doing wrong because people lie to each other, social consequence. Ask what is wrong with my industry. It's the person outside the room. So like, when I leave here, you can have a candid conversation like, oh, Mike was not that good. He spoke a little quickly, and he did a lispy thing that didn't work. Like, whatever. You can say what you want. But to my face, you're like, oh, you were great. Good tips, Mike. You can't tell me the truth to my face only when I leave. So have the conversation about the person outside the room, the general industry. So I said, what's wrong with the computer industry? This is when you don't remember the Palm Pilot, you're way too young. Do you anyone remember the Palm Pilot? Okay, you're over 50. Over 50. No, you're not over 50. If you don't know what the Palm Pilot was, it was the first smartphone that was neither smart nor a phone. That's basically it, right? It was the weirdest thing. And he said, my computer company, my last guy, tried to repair the Palm Pilot, and he charged me more than just replacing it. I wish there was fixed billing. We moved to fixed billing in the early 2000s when MSPs only moved to it in the 2015s or so. So what am I doing wrong is your opportunity what's the industry doing wrong is your opportunity to differentiate from the industry.
That's so good.
I got fired up there.
It's good. I mean, it is amazing how the right questions serve you so much better than the immediate answers. It's because you can just rinse and repeat. One of my pet peeves at our companies is we send a lot of surveys. I hate surveys. So I have like how many of you guys get a survey? You're like, thank God that came out. I needed more things to respond to in my email inbox. It's my huge pet peeve. I'm always like, instead, we should actually, I'm curious on that. I'm like, we should actually try to sell people more things. And the reason why is because then you actually know what they want. And if you sell something and nobody wants it, you're like, oh, that's the survey.
That is
the money's
gold.
The survey.
That is gold.
Right?
So I remember.
Do entrepreneurs sell enough to their customers? Are most entrepreneurs scared of selling?
They absolutely do not sell enough, and they don't sell the right way. I actually believe MVPs are not the right way to sell. So an MVP is a minimum viable product. I think that's too far advanced. We do a technique we call sell to tell. What we do is say, I was a co-owner in a manufacturing business for a while. We made leather products, sheaths specifically for knives. And instead of making a prototype and seeing what was out there, we simply announced to our audience, we're thinking about making a sheath and it's going to have this feature and that feature. Are you interested in buying it? But we asked the most important question. If you are, put down a deposit now. People speak the truth through their wallets. I was actually thinking about doing a conference at my old high school, but to pull it off, we needed 250 people there. Reached out to our audience. We had 75 people put a deposit down, and we said, no, this isn't going to go, and refunded their deposits. Ironically, prior to that, our marketing team said, well, why don't we just ask? We had over 1,000 people say, oh, I'm in. That's amazing. And if we acted on that, we would have blown money and embarrassed myself at my old high school.
I'm always scared people aren't going to show up for my parties.
Oh, cool. Rock and roll.
Literally every time. Still, it never stops. Okay, so you sell to tell, which I love. Yeah. Do you have any good frameworks for how to know if you are selling enough as an entrepreneur? It's one of my beliefs that most entrepreneurs are too scared to sell, and so they don't do it frequently enough. How do you know if you're selling enough?
The act of selling as opposed to the dollar number.
100%.
Yeah.
Are we asking our customers for enough things? Are we asking for enough upsells? Are we? What is our relation between content and actual conversion? Yeah,
I think the two indicators is if you have customers come back to you and say, please stop that, that's a good indicator, and listen up, particularly your quality clients. Often we listen to the one naysayer who doesn't matter, like, you sell so much, you totally suck, and they've never bought from you, and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'll never sell again. So listen to your best customers. Secondly is if you see every time you sell a decline in purchasing, and I've seen that before, that someone sells so much, people are like, you know what, I'm just turned off to you. All you do is sell. I think we have to care for our customers at an amplitude of a 5 to 1, maybe a 10 to 1. Just acts of service, caring for them, educating them, entertaining them, because that builds reciprocity, and then the sell becomes obvious. But I think particularly small businesses serve at like 100 to 0. Like all they're doing is like, I love my community, I'll do anything for them, and they don't monetize it. I would say, Cody, your customers, people in this room, my customers, not in this room, maybe, want us to be profitable. And your clients want you to be profitable. In fact, it's the number one customer, number one person in your life that wants you to be profitable is not you, it's actually your customer. And we don't believe that. Could you imagine, you go see your doctor, you have a heart situation, you rush in, Dr. 1 comes out and she says, here's the situation, I'm not profitable. I'm nearly broke. I'm really panicked for money. I'm just selling anything to anyone, and I've decided to generalize. I'm going to do neurosurgery, pediatrics, geriatrics, anything with an actics, I'm in. Dr. Two comes out and she says, I am wickedly profitable. I make a boatload of money because I am wildly successful at what I do. In fact, all I do is serve this one situation. Which doctor are you going to pick? Dr. Two. You want your doctor to be profitable. And listen, maybe you're not providing life-saving services. You're providing life-altering services. Your customers want to know that you're profitable because then you treat them as the number one customer. They won't say, hey, can you charge me more? Can you rip me off a little? But they will say, I want your undivided attention. I want the best of you. And all those things are indicators of I want you to be profitable. I see you. I see you.
Well, it's such a good point. I mean, I don't know if anybody else feels like Mark Zuckerberg knows their purchasing pattern better than their husband does. But like Mark's got me on Instagram. Those ads come up. I want to buy. But if I go to double click on a shirt or an outfit and the cost of that shirt or outfit is like $7.99, I don't buy. Why? Because I think the quality is going to be bad, because I think it's not actually going to be a good service. So not only do I think we don't sell enough, I think we price ourselves out of deals all the time because we're the cheapest, because we're like, oh, no, I want to overserve the customer. No, you lost my business because I don't trust that it could be quality at that price. And so I want to talk a little bit. You have multiple.
Can I add to that real quick?
Yeah, that's what I want you to do.
So I would buy that $7 shirt. And I think what's important about that is you have to bifurcate your customers. A large majority of customers are the cheapo customers. And that's me in that situation. But you care about the quality of your clothing, and therefore you're going to pay a premium. Now, I play guitar. I bet you if I saw a $1,000 guitar, I might buy it. I don't know if you play guitar. Do you? Okay. So you'll buy the $7 guitar, I suspect. And what price dictates is the quality of customer. You will find customers at the lower price point. And for anyone here that sells at a low price point, if you ever found that your customers are really bitchy and moany and they really suck, it's because you're attracting the shit customer, the one who says, I don't really care about this, I just need a shirt, so I'll pay the $7. And that's why I think we need to have a higher price. We get a higher value customer that's more vested in the outcome, and they're actually a higher quality customer.
What do you think about, I tend to think that when you solve rich people's problems, they pay more and they appreciate it more, by and large. And when you're a junior entrepreneur, or not even junior, when you're not the best entrepreneur in the world, I almost like solving more luxury problems because there's more margin in them typically, and you don't have to get as many. So it doesn't have to be such a volume game until you're good. Do you think that's true? Or do you think when you go and serve luxury customers, you better be luxury, you better be top tier, you better be great?
Great. That's a good question. I think the quantity game is really difficult to compete in because you only become profitable when you can handle that volume, which means exacting systems. That's why Walmart's so good. But they have to demand from their providers that it has to arrive at 10:30 and there has to be a SKU at a certain point. Small businesses, we don't have the resources typically to pull that off, so that's very difficult. When it comes to quality I think is misunderstood. Quality, I think we hear that and we say, well, it's a special fabric or it's something that's really of long-lasting value. But quality simply means distinct. I'll give you an example. My youngest son, this is like a bad father moment. When he was 6 years old, I wanted to show him what devotion and commitment was, and it was the Olympics. It was like the Beijing Olympics. Michael Phelps wins like gold number 1 billion. And in this particular race, I don't know if you all remember, he was actually in third place, and he's swimming like super hard, and there's like 3 meters to go. He's in second place. There's a meter to go, and the person in the lead, I think from the Ukraine, is reaching out to touch the wall, and Phelps jumps out of the water like a shark and slaps the wall. And there's like this long pause, and it pops up, and Michael Phelps won by 0.001 seconds. And I jump up, I'm watching my son, I'm like, Jake, that's the world's best. That's how you do it. Total commitment, total devotion. That's the highest level performer. And he looks at me, he goes, but Daddy, Michael Phelps isn't the world's best. Jimmy Michalowicz is. Now, here's the bad dad moment. I said, who the fuck's Jimmy Michalowicz? I never heard of it. He's like, Daddy, he's in kindergarten. Never say it to your kids, by the way. He goes, Daddy, Jimmy's in my kindergarten class. He can swim across Mountain Lake. It's a lake near us. And he's like, he's the only kid in the world that can do it. I was like, oh my gosh. So the context of the best and quality is the context of the consumer's world. For me, it's the Olympic stage. For him, it's his kindergarten class. And Susie can make the biggest cannonball. She's a rock star for him. And it's like, oh my gosh, I am such an idiot. So when it comes to quality, I just asked, we have to know who our customer is. And what can we do that's unique and distinct to them they never experienced before? And now you've introduced quality.
That's so good. Let's talk about distraction a little bit. You have a lot in multiple of your books. I think I'm referencing the pumpkin plan more here, but how do you personally decide when to double down on an idea versus when to call it a distraction and cut it?
Yeah. So we generally look at a revenue threshold because that's just a shocking metric to many small businesses. We generally say if you're not generating $10 million doing your one thing, you haven't arrived yet, you're not good enough yet. For most businesses, that's about 0.001% of the market cap. So it's nothing. Yet most businesses said, oh, we're doing $300,000 in revenue. I should diversify and do more things. And it starts diluting you. It's all about the efficiency game. That's where we focus. The second thing is we just do diagnostics with AI. It's so easy now. Just look at the customer base, what they're consuming, what's the profitability per product, and we just focus in on those few things. I think businesses pursue diversification too quickly because we hear if you're diversified, you're safe, you're protected, but it also stalls growth.
Do you think entrepreneurs should ever have multiple businesses before they do $10 million in revenue?
If I say no, I'm a hypocrite. So I have many businesses that aren't doing $10 million, but I don't run them. So I think people misunderstand what a business owner is. In fact, when people ask me, what do you do? In addition to author, I don't say I'm an entrepreneur, even though it's my favorite word, because entrepreneurs become so bastardized. There's pundits that say, oh, entrepreneurship's hustle and grind. It's, work your ass off. That is not what entrepreneurship is. You were sharing something that I hope people took notes down. 6%, you said, of the world population runs a business. I'll give you the data behind this because I'm really into the numbers. 17% of the population ever attempts to start a business. So if you think about kindergarten and the 20 kids in your class, 3 kids, maybe 4 kids ever attempt to start a business. 20% ever start a business and after 5 years are doing it on a profitable, sustainable basis. That's 3%. So the 6% who are running a business, half of them are actually pulling it off after 5 years. And that's how the math works. Which means if you ever thought about who was the weirdo in your kindergarten class, it was you. You're a weirdo. For some messed up part of your mind is like, oh, I can start a business and make money. The number one job of an entrepreneur is not to do the job. The number one job of an entrepreneur is to create jobs for the other kids in your class. 19 kids in your kindergarten class want good jobs with good companies to live a good life with just good experiences. If you are doing the work in your business, you're failing the responsibility of an entrepreneur. Your job, my job, our job is to create jobs for the other 97% of the global population. Yet most entrepreneurs are doing the work. So, let me get off my soapbox for a second. I don't call myself an entrepreneur anymore because unfortunately, we're told that means to work in our business. I call myself a shareholder because I also own public stock and I'm a shareholder in my business. And when someone says, what are you? I say, I'm a shareholder of small business. They're like, what does that mean? I'm like, oh, I own the stock. I share in the profit and I give strategic direction. I vote, but I don't do any of the work in the business. So for every one of the companies, we have a president, we have a C-suite, if you will. And these are some small businesses. A C-suite could be like 6 people in the entire company, but I am not in the business doing the work.
So cool. Let's talk about beacons. So you referenced a study about football fields and blindfolds. But how do you stay on course in a business and not get distracted?
So the study, this is in my book actually called Fix This Next. What I found is most entrepreneurs are reactionary. And there was a study of a woman named Amanda Eller from the state of Hawaii back maybe 10 years ago. And it's a common story. She was just a unique global phenomena. She went for a hike on a path she always does. Halfway through a hike, it was like a 5-mile hike, she sees a fallen tree and she decides to sit down and meditate. She comes out of her meditation, she picks a path, the key variable being a path, starts walking. She's like, oh God, I'm disoriented, I'm not in the right spot. 17 days later, she's found clinging to life by a rescue crew. What's interesting about the story is she was a half mile from her car. She started walking in circles. Without a beacon, this happens over and over, people get lost. In this German study, they took people on a football field and they put like a sleep mask on them and said, find your way across. No one could do it. And it wasn't the long way, it was the distance like halfway across the field, which is only 50 yards, and they couldn't do it. Most entrepreneurs operate their business this way. It's very reactionary. It's like, oh, my instinct says go here, my instinct says go there, and we're totally blinded. So we have to pick a beacon of what the business needs. The typical beacon is this. The most common missed part in businesses is Are you profitable on a daily basis? At the end of today, Saturday, are you gonna walk out of here and your business has made more money than it spent? And tomorrow, does it make more money than it spent? Most entrepreneurs don't focus on that at all. They simply say, I need to sell more. And they actually dig a hole further. So the number one beacon is sustainable daily profitability. The second beacon after that, once you nail your profitability, you can use Profit First to do that. Number two is efficiency. And I'll give you the hack to efficiency that most people don't do. Most people say, I gotta learn how to delegate. Question, who here has a personal assistant? Raise your hand, live audience. Okay, hands down. Hands down. Who does not have a personal assistant? Okay, keep your hands up. You are the personal assistant. If your hand is up right now, it is the biggest flaw in small business. Everyone that just raised your hand, hire a personal assistant stat. And they don't have to be full-time. They can work 1 hour a month. And it's not to have someone doing work for you. It's so you can learn how to delegate to other people. It is the biggest weakness most entrepreneurs have, is the ability to delegate. Second tip, most people delegate the wrong thing. What don't I like to do? I don't like doing this, I'm gonna delegate it. Wrong. What do you love to do so much you'll never give it up? Delegate that. Because when you can delegate your passion, you'll learn to delegate the entirety of your business.
Love that. Yeah, I mean, Zach, you know what one of the first things we do in the boardroom is, which is yell at you guys to get VAs, right? He's nodding his head, yes. And that is because you're right. Otherwise, that means you do not value your time more than minimum wage offshore labor. And like, you got to look at yourself in the face and think about that for a second. You are saying your time is not worth more than a couple of dollars per hour. And if that is true, then are you really a business owner? And I think the answer to that is no, you're an employee. You're still an employee status. And one of the first things we do in our groups is say, let's offload some of these. Let's kill the zombies, let's cut the weight, and let's offload the things that you should never be doing in the first place. And now there are incredible systems to do that. And we'll talk about that later today as well, as Zach knows. Okay, I want to talk about, let's talk about profit first. Many people think revenue minus expenses equal profit, and profit is the last part of the equation in business. You famously argue the opposite. Let's talk about what the profit first framework is.
So after struggling with my own finances, I looked at my businesses historically, and while they grew, and I did sell 2 businesses, they were never profitable. And so they were strategic acquisitions. I was lucky to get out. Most people will never sell their business. So I ran the data. There was a study from the SBA in conjunction with a major bank. They identified 83% of small businesses in the US, there's 36 million of us now, under 25 million in revenue, are considered a small business. So it's probably the majority of this room. 83% of us are surviving check by check. And probably everyone in this room, in part, started your business for financial freedom. So I'm like, we started our business for financial freedom, but no one pulls it off. What's wrong with us? And then I was looking at the formula one day, I said, holy crap, that formula is wrong. It makes logical sense. Sales or revenue, you subtract expenses, what's left over is profit. Totally makes sense. It does not make behavioral sense. It is human nature. What comes first gets done. What comes last gets ignored. The manana syndrome. We are told profit comes last. It's the bottom line last. It's the year end last. It's all last. And so most business owners, and how I ran my business, I'd wait till the end of the year. I'm like, shucks. I wouldn't use the word shucks, but your mom's here. I'm like, shucks. I could never swear in front of my own mom, but I'm F-bombing here. I would go, shucks, I don't have any profitability. Maybe next year. And that was the fundamental flaw. Once I took my profit first, I started becoming profitable every day. It's the pay yourself first principle applied to business. And this goes back to biblical times. It's like nothing new. In the Bible, they talk about tithing and the necessity of putting money aside. It's been modernized in tons of personal finances. We're told to have a 401k, pay yourself first. And yet in a business, we don't do it. So it's literally that simple. And it ain't a shell game. It leverages, into behavioral principles, a thing called Parkinson's law. Parkinson states that our demand for a resource expands as the resource expands. The more time you have to do something, the longer it'll take. The more cookies that are served as a dessert, the more you're gonna eat. Guilty. And the more money you make in your business, the more you will spend. As your revenue goes like this over time, I bet your expenses increase at the uncanny same rate. It's because how we're behaviorally wired. So what we're gonna do is starting today, every time sales comes in, like today, take a percentage. You wanna have 10% bottom line? Take 10%. 20? Great, take 20%. Take that profit, hide it from your business, and now your business tells you what's available to run your business. What I say is profit first doesn't fix your business, it tells you what needs to be fixed within your business. Because if you want that profit number, it'll tell you you don't have enough, your prices are wrong, you gotta fix your margins, inefficient, over costs, all that stuff.
I love that. We'll do an activity, I think, later today that talks about we like to have people actually think about where in your business can you cut costs immediately.
Yeah.
It's like, because it's hard to make new sales, right? You're like, yeah, I'd love to go right now, close a bunch of new business, go out there, execute on it. Can be hard.
Yeah.
You don't always have control over that immediately, but somewhere in your business is sitting some cash. And so we have a process, Carter's really good at this, where we go through and analyze again and again, where in your business do you have hidden money? And it's not the sexiest of things, because nobody's like, I saved $1,000 today.
Yeah.
You're like, I closed a bunch of new clients. That's way sexier.
Yeah.
Who gets paid the most? Salespeople. Who gets paid the least? Accountants. And yet, accountants are more consistent. And so I really like this.
That's brilliant. There's a little hack you can do.
Let's do it.
Get a credit card, a new credit card. This sounds crazy, for your business. You can do it in your personal finances too. Move all your subscriptions to that one card and get paper statements. I did my personal finances. I'm like, I probably spend, a couple $100 maybe on subscriptions. Holy crap, I spent $500. I got the Hydro system. I got the Peloton. I've got Netflix. And I was like, what am I doing? I'm not using half this stuff. You got to make it visceral, and you got to make it conscious as opposed to subconscious. In your business, set up a dedicated card just for your subscriptions, and you'll see how much you're spending. It's the first way to get control of that stuff.
I love that. Yeah, and I want to open it up from questions here at the end. So think about it for a second. Have your questions kind of ready. The other thing I think we don't think about enough as business owners is investing in ourselves.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds a little cheesy because it's so much easier to say, I invested in the business here. I hired a new person. But I found that if we don't become better, our business never gets better. And so I'm curious, you've been in the sort of educational business for a long time. Do you still have coaches and mentors? Yeah. How do you think about investing in yourself as the entrepreneur and getting better? Is that important to you?
Yeah, so wickedly important, surprise. What I do is identified what is the role that I enjoy the most, meaning gives me the most joy. But first I had to eradicate myself from doing it. So let me explain. I get the most joy from being a spokesperson for my brand, okay? I realize that requires a lot of public speaking. And I realized if I'm the only person doing it, I become the linchpin for my business. So first I educated about 50 people on speaking on Profit First. In fact, there's 3 Profit First keynotes going on today, and I'm not doing any of them. So that's the first thing. So I'm not necessary. Then I said, okay, well, I own the business, and I want to do what gives me joy. I'm not going to sit on the beach and stuff. So I'm going to reinsert myself, and I want to be the best spokesperson I can. So I go to improv classes. I study comedy. I look at what do my contemporaries do, and most people sit behind a dais and I'm like, that's the one thing I can't do. I have to be different. So I study theatrics, performance, all those things constantly. I have a speaking coach who comes to my events and critiques me sometimes live. He'll be doing signals. He'll sit in the front row. He's like, doing we have these hand signals. Oh gosh, hands out of your pocket. Named John Bates. So I very much invest in that. I think for any of us, it's just human nature. We can be super elite at very few things, but pick that thing, and then you become the Michael Phelps or the Jimmy Mickeldorf of your category.
Well, it's
now you all know Jimmy Mickeldorf.
No, poor Jimmy.
Yeah,
I wonder
poor
where
Jimmy.
he is today.
I know. He's 20 years old now. He's never had a girlfriend as a result because of me.
I love that. Thank you. I think a lot of times we need to give ourselves permission to spend time getting better, because it feels like there's too many things to do every single day, and it might even feel like a little bit of a luxury. And I'm a big believer that, if we don't spend money becoming the best CEO we can be, then how can we hire the best talent who can then be talking on other stages, who can then be growing the business? You cannot attract what you are not. And so I think you have to keep becoming better if you want to attract better people. Okay, yes. I have one last question that I'm going to open it up for you guys. You often talk about building a business that runs without you. What's the first system every owner should put in place?
Oh, we do with every business we invest in. We immediately schedule a 4-week vacation for the business owner within 1 year of today. And I challenge you right now, in your calendar, put a 4-week vacation. That's 1 month away from the office. Tell your loved one you're going on vacation with them, perhaps. Tell your kids. They're the ultimate accountability mechanism. And if the thought of that gives you a heart attack, and when most business owners it does, that's the first indicator we do not have a systemized business. If you can extract yourself from a business for 4 consecutive weeks, we actually turn off your email, full shutdown. It changes the mindset from how am I going to be the superhero again today to how am I going to get the business operating without me? And that's what we do. That's the first thing.
At what level of revenue or existence of a business do you put this into place?
We've done like a $100,000 business. And it's like, how can you do it that? It's a one-person business. Even if you're a one-person business, you have vendors, maybe not employees, you have clients, you can make your clients work for you. I grew up back in the day where you had catalogs and you want to order that nice expensive shirt of yours, you call up and the operator would be like, oh, what's your address? And you say, it's 12 Main Street. And you're like, what was that? Vane Street? No. Now they have customers doing the work. We actually go on the web and we're like, click, 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 12 Main Street, ha, ha, ha. Like, we think it's cool entering the data for them. So you can actually train your customers to do the work for you. Your doctor, your GP has you fill out this ridiculously long form for you. You're doing the work. I'm like, this is amazing. So even if you're $100,000, you can do it.